Oh, it's been a long morning studying weather maps since past 9. It's 65 degrees outdoors. It's 63 degrees indoors. What do you think of that? You want to go outside and warm up? Are we going to turn on the air conditioning today? No, we're not. But it's definitely going to feel hot because it's going to be hot in New England here the next couple of days. Fascinating weather stories. I guess the big elephant in the room is how did it rain 22 inches yesterday in Fort Lauderdale, Florida? An amazing. Jacob says it was a 1 in 1,000-year event to get so much rain in a 6-hour period, and he did a great analysis. So follow Jacob Flintstone, Fierstein, graduating Cornell this month with his degree in meteorology, and a fine young man. Have the pleasure of meeting through several storms here in the Northeast. Thank you, Jacob, for helping to explain. I say it has a lot to do, too, with the storm that arrived on the west coast of the United States back on April 1st. And it buried Utah in several feet of snow, blizzard in the northern plains, severe weather on its south side. The front got to Florida last Thursday or so, 7 days ago, and the front kind of got to South Florida, stalled out, and then came back north as a warm front. On the south side of what was that record cold high-pressure system that we had here in the east pretty much all week long, even this morning in Andrews, North Carolina, it's in the upper 30s. Well, we started the day in the mid-60s from Albany, New York to Worcester, Massachusetts. So what was a record cold high is now going to be a record warm high. We saw the records yesterday from Colorado to Cape Cod. And the storm itself that came across the nation is now crossing the Atlantic Ocean, and the Ocean Prediction Center says it makes landfall in Ireland. So this storm certainly has left a wake. The current upper-level flow, Jacob says, is blocked up the wazoo. Looks a little bit like a Rex block with a cutoff low over the southern United States and a ridge going over the top. So that cutoff low was not really in the guidance. We did talk about a low-pressure trough trying to come into the east this week, but we didn't think it would be a cutoff low over Louisiana, and it looked like the heaviest rain would be over Louisiana, or I don't even think we got as much flooding as we got in Florida. Anyhow, that upper-level low and a bit of its energy is coming to the northeast slowly, sending an extratropical wave, not necessarily the one from Fort Lauderdale, but the one from Louisiana, up the east coast. From the south, we're going to have cooler air coming from the south. At the same time, record warmth here in the northeast. The thickness this morning is 561, goes to 565, so that would say 81 to 85. But with a west wind, we usually overachieve, and I think we do maintain enough of a gradient to keep the wind from the west in Boston. And then tomorrow morning, about 11 a.m., the wind is light from the west in Boston. We're climbing through the mid-70s. And then abruptly at 1 o'clock, there's a wind shift. And the temperature may go from about 77 or 78 down to about 64 in just a couple of hours. Wind from the northeast will come up, gusting past 20. You'll feel that front if you're near the shore tomorrow. It's kind of a backdoor cold front. It's not a sea breeze. It's a synoptic scale cold front. One of my good friends called it a sea breeze tomorrow. It's not. But if you do get away from the coast, let's look at Westfield, Massachusetts, going for 90 tomorrow. So summer preview here in New England this very moment. And then air coming at us from the north is colder. Air coming at us from the south is colder. That's what happens when you're in record warmth. There's only one way to go. The firefighters practice over there near Logan Airport. And they're doing that now, practicing putting out fires. But the fire danger is fairly elevated still. The humidity's up a little bit, so it's not as bad as the last couple days. And it was so windy yesterday morning from the northwest, and the sky kept on changing. What a fascinating sky. All right, so what about the weather forecast? The cooler air is coming into eastern New England on Saturday. So places like Cape Cod and Boston, probably to the New Hampshire seacoast, may only be in the low to mid-50s. Good job, GFS, spotting that before the Euro, but the Euro's in there now, too. So this is the Euro for Boston. And instead of having no days of rain, now it shows showers showing up here Saturday, kind of a wet Sunday, and then Marathon Monday perhaps still wet. What's going on? Wave of low pressure coming up from the south is going to merge with that backdoor cold front over southern New England. Kind of gray, and I think we're all cooling on Saturday. And then on Sunday, the system now crossing with snow in parts of the highest, most Rockies is going to come into New England with a serious looking front that may generate a shower and a thunderstorm. Looks like Sunday night, Monday now. So most of your weekend, pond skimming, Saturday at J Peak. Looks pretty good. Sunday it's going downhill for most of us. And then when the front goes through the marathon route on Monday morning, some raindrops, and looks like perhaps gusty wind from the southeast and kind of raw in the 50s. May actually warm up in the afternoon on Monday in Boston when the wind shifts around and comes from the west after being from the northeast Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday, and southeast Monday morning. Onshore flow for 3 days. Just what the doctor ordered if you want your garden to get some water, which I do. And then next week, upper level low may result in some high elevation snow and probably warmer near the coast in southern New England with a westerly wind, but those great clouds we get in April, those bubbling cauliflower cumulus clouds, are likely with instability every day next week. Yesterday was a really interesting day, watching the sky and the wind decrease and then going to the dog park. We did make it to 70, but if you look at the time lapse, there was some lenticular clouds in there. That is, the air up in the sky was going 100 miles an hour, but then there were these clouds that were stationary. Those are wave clouds, lenticular clouds. You don't even need a mountain. Sometimes just the temperature gradient and the pressure gradient is going to cause those standing waves in the atmosphere. So I'll leave you with some more of those clouds and the birds, all kinds of different birds. Thank you, Steve, for identifying the Carolina wren. I said, if you hear a wren in Weymouth, shouldn't it be a Weymouth wren? All right, enjoy this beautiful stretch of summer weather. Try to resist turning on the air conditioning. Mother Nature's going to supply it over the weekend. Really fun sky today. The high clouds coming and going, a lot of condensation trails. Fast flow aloft. It was very windy here earlier, but now the wind has finally let up. These will be prodigious pollen producers before we know it. Those are going to be huge. There already is some pollen out there. Springtime, birds and the bees, flowers in the trees. Got to make more life. Need some rain. Pretty interesting how the forecast is changing for the weekend. Cirrocumulus means there's a big weather system within 2,000 miles. Tropical storm. Believe that's a wren. Carolina wren. Even in Massachusetts? That's an affirmative. Can't even see it. It's like as big as those buds on the maple tree. Tiniest birds can make the biggest noise. It's amazing. You can't even see it.
He's at about, if the tree is 12, he's down about 10 o'clock to the left. Top.
Wow, look at those clouds over our head. They look like flames.
Oh, those are cool.
Never gets old, does it?
No.
Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between natural and unnatural. Can anybody identify the anthropogenic cloud up there? Oh God, that's gorgeous. Yeah. Douglas, stop looking out the window. What are you doing? Pay attention to class.
Give me another beer. Yeah, serious.